Howdy. Ho, 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 everybody. How are y'all doing on this lovely, lovely, whatever day it is when you're watching this? We are talking Loon and I, we got into a massively heated argument when we were reviewing Alpha Protocol.
Yeah, he
No,
kept throwing
we
me
were,
into a locker for some reason. He keeps bringing that up. I don't know what. Some
no, it
obsession.
was, it was it was a good conversation. We started talking about review scores and we were going into this rabbit hole of like how should we do reviews? Like we haven't even really built a format for reviews. How are we going to look at this going forward? And as we were talking about, we were like, yeah, we should probably make a video about this. Like we should probably discuss this with the audience to see what they want from reviews in general. What do people look for in reviews today? What is like the metric system? How do people want to do that?
I mean, I'll pave. It was my idea, so I will take the brunt of this if it's poorly received. But the thing is that I don't like review scores. I know you like them and stuff like that, and that's what we like established. Like when you're looking at it through like a fun factor, yeah, that's fun. I'm always that like one extra layer deep, as you know, always looking at lore, always looking at stuff like that. So when I want to tag like a number onto it, it's like, mm, I kind of hesitate and stuff like that, and then I get into like a battle in my own brain of my own annoyances when I look at people's review scores. Because to give perspective as to why I brought it up to begin with, every single time you see IGN put like a 7 out of 10, what does that mean? Because you look at a 7 out of 10 game and they put that there, and then another 7 out of 10 game, and you can. I know everything is subjective to a degree, but there are certain times where that a certain title is vastly superior at doing something. It's much higher pedigree. It's much well more crafted and stuff like that. So to say that they're side by side and to just blase put out like a 7 out of 10, for me, my biggest problem with the number system is what makes that number become that number. Because sometimes it feels like someone spitballs a number onto a wall when they're sitting in IGN and stuff like that. And I know a lot of this is being thrown towards their way, but it's because they are the front runners for
So number
this
one,
for
yeah.
this argument of they get clowned on it the most because they're the one that utilize it the most. And it's like, well, what made you what what is a 7 out of 10 game to you then? And that's the big thing, is to like, if we were going to do a format and come up with a number system, I would want there a reason for them numbers to being built rather than just solely basing it off of feeling. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what initially, because when we did the Alpha Protocol thing, I think I like quickly threw out like a here's my idea, here's a thought process kind of thing. But like, to give as an example, because I wrote it down in the document, if we were to do like one on Baldur's Gate 3, and I think I was umming and ahhing whether or not doing it out of 10 or out of 5 of the system. But I think 5 probably works best. And just focusing on the core like stuff. So like story and quests would make up one segment of that. Companions would make up another segment. Role playing and interactivity would make up another segment. Uh, Combat would make up another segment, and then maybe pacing. And that was also fairly like thrown together. Like that's not a perfect thing to pin them things out, but like breaking down the whole thing is each number has a purpose, and you're building up to that number, and then you come to a complete number, so that when, say, we got to the end, you'd be able to be like, oh, it's made that number, and you look back at the specific things as to how it got to that. Does that make
I
sense?
guess my question would be how, like something that's that specific, like when you're talking about companions,
Mm-hmm.
would the Witcher 3 would just get like a 0 for companions?
No, because you would. That would be so for The Witcher 3. If you were to tackle like companions and stuff, you would go with like specific character quests. So when you were spending time with Triss, when you were spending time with Yennefer, when you were spending time with Kira Metz, were them quests well crafted? Did they have impact? Did they have not only in the quest when it's in its finished state, did that then pull out and impact other aspects of the game? So with like Kira Metz, for instance, you do stuff in her quest in The Witcher 3, and I'm being very vague here because I don't want to obviously spoil stuff, but there's stuff that you do, and if you come to a conclusion in that quest, it impacts deeper aspects later down the game. So that's what I would.
Would you not just label that story?
I think it's a little bit different because they serve a different role in the story. Does that make sense? With them, that doesn't, because you could turn around and go like with the Bloody Baron. They serve completely different things rather than like a Kira Metz thing. But that is like, yeah, there is obviously a flaw in some argument with that. But that's, I think with Baldur's Gate 3 is why I gave that as like an example kind of thing. And it's not set in stone like as well. That as a companion tag. Like you'll be able to, the point I want to do is focus on the game and the particular natures of the game and what it does. Because obviously there's no companions in Limbo. So you wouldn't be able to
Exactly.
tackle Limbo and be like, well, a companion. So you would then replace that with something. Because you're also, when you're reviewing Limbo, you're not looking at it for a companion experience. So I think basing the review off of what the game is trying to do is more important than what it doesn't do. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Yeah. But I also think that I think that going super, super specific, unless we change it out for every single game, what we're grading based on.
Hmm.
But I think that could be pretty fucking tough too, because it's like if we're having an equally weighted system for, like, if you're having, companions be equal to story, which is equal to gameplay, which is equal to interactivity, it's like, I don't know that that makes a lot of sense either. I think that, in my opinion, the only logical way I can come to any, and here's the, if I'm being totally honest, I think that scores are fucking ridiculously stupid, but I think that it's fun. And so it's like, for me, my whole thing is, as long as everyone is aware that it's just a game, like we're just fucking, it's a gut feeling. You
Hmm.
throw a fucking score at something and you move on, and it's no big deal. Like it's just some person's weird way of putting the icing on the cake, and that's. But then when you started breaking it down to me, I was like, ooh, once again, my brain works way different. Where I start going, how you were breaking it down to me when we were talking about Alpha Protocol, you were like, we could, build our review format with the audience. And I was like, oh, content, fun. We could make something fun out of this. And so, once again, that's a horrible way of looking at everything through the content prism, but it really was where I started going, okay, so maybe there is some fun angle we can take here to create this system. I don't think that angle is going to be something where we get so down to very, very specifics of, you know, having different stats that we're looking to for every single game, and having to pretty much, because if that was the case, we would have to rebuild our review format every single time we do a review.
Yeah. You think it would be that difficult?
I mean, it depends on if we have graphics. It depends on that type of thing. Because if we have graphics and shit, it's going to be pretty tough to have to build a different graphic for every single game that we come in here and review. Once again, that's on the back end side of things. It's not that wouldn't be something that the audience would necessarily have to worry about too much. But even then, I don't
I
know.
think it would just be replacing text, though, for the most part. And it would just be coming to the conclusion of what pillar per se that would be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I guess my question is, would do you think it would be possible to, like, take companions
Hmm.
and have that be a major factor of story when we start looking at story. Take interactivity, have that be a major factor of gameplay when we start looking at gameplay.
Yeah,
And
yeah, because like what was it in Alpha Protocol when we were talking about what was it? Was it music or something? Music and sound and stuff like that.
yeah.
When you're trying to give them like a fair, because it wouldn't like the soundtrack of a game is nowhere near as important as the story for most titles, for
Exactly.
99.99999% of titles. So to help weigh that out, you would be able to combine stuff to then fill in them gaps, if that makes sense. So sound, music, like sound effects of the game, music, voice acting, to try and fill up and beef that up, to try and give it that edge, to also kind of okay, well it's that's three aspects to the story, and give it a bit, because they all kind of, as well with like sound, music, and voice acting, they're fairly similar things. It's all audio and stuff like that. So you could even just brand it audio, to be honest. Um,
Well, and so here's what I came up with.
okay.
And you tell me, once again, this is building on the fly. We're gonna,
I'm
you know,
expecting you to flip the phone over and it just be out of 10. And just be like, end of discussion. Just be like, huh,
N-
okay.
no, but see, that's the thing. When you pitch this argument, when you pitch this idea, I was like, "Ooh, okay, so there is actually something fun here in terms of building this out with the audience, having it be something that we can turn into a piece of content because my brain is fucking warped. I'm sorry. But so here was my review scale example. Um, Gameplay. Obviously, uh, of course, that's got to be there. Story, if it's a game that has a story. And if it's not a game that has a story, you just completely eliminate it.
Hmm.
Boom,
Hmm.
gone. And then audio slash visual slash tech. So just anything, all encompassing technical aspects. I think I don't think that you can bundle. There's nothing you could do on a technical, visual, or audio level that either of those three standalone things should not equal gameplay or story, in my opinion. So bundling them all three together, then yeah, maybe they do have combined the same weighted value. Like if every single one of those things is a fucking zero, but the gameplay is a 10 out of 10, then it's like, yeah, you fucked up the tech, you fucked up the graphics, you fucked up the audio, your thing's chugging at 20 frames a second. Like yeah, that is just as important as your gameplay being incredible. Um, so it should be weighted down. And then the this is I think this is important. A gut check score. Something that maybe at the start of every review we say, Loom, what's your gut check on this? Like what is your right now before we even begin the discussion, or maybe, you know, maybe at the end of it, however we want to do it. But my thought process was immediately, boom, gut check score. What's your gut check? I want to get your overall quick gut check on this score. And that's a personal rating. So that's factored in as well. And then at the end of end of the review, we get a total score. So what it would be gameplay, story, audio, visuals, and tech, and then your gut check score. Those four things would be added up and then divided by four.
Okay. No, I like that. I like that because that fills in both windows. Kind of, because that's kind of how I was tackling the Assassin's Creed review, just without the
Yep.
number side, where there's a certain level of, what's the word I'm looking for, like critique, and trying to be very, very thoughtful, but also having to like interject in every now and then. Oh, but this is like my true personal feeling of it. I can look at it critically this way, but me sitting here and actually experiencing it, I don't care about that. But that's me. Like I can put that hat on and look at it critically. So I think that's a really cool, yeah, because that helps bridge both things. Because you can sometimes, because I think we were talking about it in the other protocol review of, even if you don't like something extremely artsy, you know that it's art, it's top tier kind of thing. You know, opera and
Yep.
stuff like this, and theater. It's never going to be something that I would sit down. You're not going to sit down and watch it. Like neither of us. It's like I don't care about this, but that doesn't then mean that it's not very high
Value.
level forms of art. So I think that bridges the gap perfectly. I think yeah.
What I want to do, just I want to put this thing to the test. I want to
Okay.
give it a few test runs before we jump out of here, before we completely lock this in, just to make sure it works.
Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna review some games in a very, very, very like unbelievably quick fashion. We're doing this all on the fly. We're not talking about the games at
I
all.
don't even
But
know
I
what
just want
games
to.
they are.
I don't either. I swear to God, I don't. I want to like do this on the fly with you to make sure this system works before we lock into it.
Okay.
So let's start with Alpha Protocol since we talked about it.
Yep.
The first thing we had up was gameplay. What would you score it
No, no,
gameplay
no, no.
wise?
You already broke the format. Gut feeling first.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Gut feeling. Let me move that to the top. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, perfect. Gut feeling. What is your personal score for this bad boy?
Out of what? What is it out of? What of,
10.
out of
Let's go
10?
10. Yeah.
8.
Okay. All right, hold on. So 8,
Yeah. Are we allowed
and
decimals
then
or is it just flat numbers?
that's why I was thinking go 10 to go flat. That way 5 you have a little bit more room than the
Oh,
5.
okay.
So
9
you're
then.
essentially
9.
okay. 9.
So
Cool.
we're looking at 8.5. I'll push
Make
it.
sure my audio's off. Okay, so that's your gut score. What's your gameplay score?
Out of 10. Ooh.
And I want you to
3.
be honest. Okay. Because I really want to put this thing to
Yeah,
the
no, no,
test
no.
to see.
Because this is my point as well. The point because this is the perfect moment to interject this. When we were talking about Alpha Protocol, you cannot praise it for its gameplay. Its gameplay is whack as hell, man. It's
Yep.
so bad, but it's an
And
amazing game.
this is why I do think your system makes a lot of sense
Mm.
in terms of breaking it down by that. Because sometimes I'll start to try to rationalize, like, oh, well, it gets it, just to make sure that it kind of adds up with what I'm saying adds up to the score. And it's like, well, that's horseshit. Um, all right. So a 3 for gameplay. Story, you would give it a.
Ooh, that's a tough one. So I've only played it once, so I only have one like playthrough of thingy, and at the end of it, I would say because I'm trying to think of like how fulfilling it was out of 8, I think.
Okay. And then audio slash visual slash tech.
Ooh, 4, 5, 4, 5,
Yeah.
4. I'll
You
go
want to go
4.
4? Okay. Okay. So that is 8 plus 3 plus 8 plus 4. It's 23. Then divide that by 4. Shit. Gets you a 5.75. That's a,
But if we're being 100% honest, as a
yeah,
game,
that's a 6.
as
Yeah.
like that kind of fits.
Yep.
But
It
that's
is a
what
6
count
out of
but
10.
but that's what counteracts the gut feeling. Like when you're looking at it critically, I can see why games like that get like with low review scores back in the day and then people flame it, and I think that's what will help us balance it out. There's like that's what we feel critically about it when
Yep.
we're being 100% honest with ourselves, but this is like as a fun factor, enjoyment, what you can get out of the game from you as a person if you like our taste. If you have similar taste to us, then you may land more in that environment. Do you have a second
Totally.
game?
I'm gonna hit mine real quick
Okay.
just to see how it lines up because
You're gonna be like
I'm,
9, 9, 9.
well, I mean, legit gut check for me, this is like a 10.
Yep.
This is a person, once again, that gut check is a totally personal thing.
Yep.
Alpha Protocol to me is like a 10 out of 10 game. I'm putting together my top 50 games of all time list right now, and it's up there. I
It's
don't want to
black
spoil anything,
eyeing
but
people.
it is up there, dude. Um, Gameplay, I'd give it a 5. It can't get any better than a 5. Story, I'd give it a 10. It's my 5th time playing through it, and I'm still seeing new shit. Audio, visuals, and tech, a 3. This thing performs horribly. So equal that all up. That's 28. Divide that by 4, right? One, two, three, 4. Yeah, divide that by 4. 7. Damn, that's brutal. But yeah, I mean, it's a 7 out of 10 game. It's, yeah, that's so interesting. And like, it is, it, I think it's fun content wise because you can't fuck around. Like,
Mm. Do you
it's
know what's
gonna be what
crazy?
it's gonna be.
Do you know what's crazy? Is that because we say like we don't let bias stand in our way. You let games skate, right? Like you said with Alpha Protocol, it's a 10 out of 10. That kind of format kind of takes that glasses off, and it's like, oh, that's what it actually like feels. That's what it like is. But I think that also gives it even more power. That your feeling of it is like, no, but that pumps it up. It's such
Yeah.
a cool discrepancy. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Totally. Yeah. And I like having that personal thing in there just for that reason. It's like, yeah, because at the end of the day, I think it's cool because what I do with reviewers is like, okay, well, I have similar taste to this reviewer. So whenever they declare it's the greatest fucking thing since sliced bread, I'm like, yes, fuck yeah, I like those. I like what that dude's
Have you
like.
ever
I
been
like what.
burned with that though?
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of like because I had that mentality until I got burned, and it was like, oh, because it left me in a weird limbo state of like, I don't understand. To me, it's completely puzzling how you really like this and Trumpet is like, oh, it's a game of the year contender, greatest game of all time contender, and then you get to that, and it's like, dude, that's like almost a 1-to-1. You're saying this is a waste, it's terrible, don't touch this. Like, I don't get it. So I
You
think that
want to
could
know?
help fill that void in.
Bro, it's fucking timing. I don't want to go on this rant, but like I believe that more because of Watch Dogs 2 than I've ever believed it in my life that timing matters more than quality. It's such a bummer to admit that. But like I played Watch Dogs 2 three different times and came away with three totally different feelings on the game. Like that is wild to sit there because usually I burn through an entire game immediately.
Mm.
But going through it in these different phases, it's like, oh wow. You really it because right now I'm so dude, just being real, so like just stressed to a level that is like it's miserable right now in this one period of life right now. I'm just like, please let's let's move up a few weeks and then let's reset. But right now it's just like work is hell. It just and so I'm sitting down to play a game and even something as good as Expedition 33, I'm like, oh, the littlest thing is frustrating me so much. Not having the map, and we ain't got to get into that, but not having any sort of where you can get map markers whenever it opens up and becomes like an open world game. I'm like, oh God, please, please, please. But once again, that's it's and but the cool thing about it is I'm able to look at that game and go, this is that's something that always drives me crazy too, where just because something isn't for you
Hmm.
to look at it and like try to dog it, it's like, dude, that is one of the highest quality video games I've played in years. It is so good.
Hmm.
But it also might not be for me. I don't know. I'm not fully making that declaration just yet. I just really wish I knew where I was going. I got lost. I got lost yesterday so bad. I spent 30 minutes wandering around and I was like, I it just at this period of time right now where I'm like, bro, my blood pressure is too high to be lost in a video game right now. But um, okay. So
I
do
assume you
you
want
want
to do
to
one more title quickly.
that's what I was saying. You want to do one more? Okay, so we got Alpha Protocol. That's a really good case study for a game that we both love,
Yep.
but obviously has flaws, and it's reflected in those scores. 5.7 and a 7.
Starfield.
Um, okay, okay, Starfield. That works. Let's do two more then, because I want to have a banger on there just to see how that ends up turning out as well.
Poor Starfield isn't a bang.
Well, I'm
What would
saying a
be a
game that
banger?
like The Witcher 3.
Okay, we'll go The Witcher 3.
Well, let's do both. Starfield's another great example because like that's one that I gave it a 9 out of 10 when I scored it.
Hmm.
I love, but let's see how it turns out comparatively. Like, Yeah, I don't know, you know. All right, so let's go you first. Starfield, hit your gut rating.
7.
Okay. Let's go to gameplay.
6.
Let's go to story.
5.
I'm not gonna speak. Let's go to audio visuals tech.
8.
All right. So that equals up to 26. Divide that by 4. 6.5. I think that's probably exactly how you feel about
Yep.
Starfield.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna jot this
That is
down.
100% where I land. I don't think it's a bad game, and obviously I give it like little digs here and there. But I think my where I've said it before, it's the thing of like it's they have so much untapped potential and they just don't realize it for me. So that perfectly, yeah, 6.5.
Well, and it's interesting because you like Alpha Protocol a lot more than Starfield, but I think we can all acknowledge Starfield is a better game. Like it just
And
it's
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 rated higher than that, right? From
and
that.
it's rated higher than Alpha Protocol for you. Yeah. And that is so huh. Yeah, I'm starting to kind of like this scoring system here. Okay.
Gut feeling.
Gut feeling for me on Starfield is a 9.
Mm-hmm.
I love that fucking video game. Um Gameplay like an 8, dude. I
mm.
I love it's by far the best combat BGS has ever done in my opinion.
Okay.
Story, this is like a 9. I think those faction quests are so sick, dude. So sick. And you got to include side quests as well, you know? It's not just if you experience side quests and you dug them, you got to include that into the story. It can't just be main story because then you wouldn't be able to factor in companions at certain instances.
To
You wouldn't
each
be able to
their own.
factor. I love those damn audio visuals tech. This is where I'm going to drop it because this is where I start thinking about maps. I start thinking about um obviously frame rate dips, shit like that, of course. The loading times are fucking brutal in that. I'm going to drop that down to a 6. That's going to equal out to a 32. Divide that by 4, an 8. Yeah, I mean, this is almost bulletproof at this point. This format is almost bulletproof at this point. Because like if I'm being on to me, I fucking adore Starfield. But even with all of the things that I think are actually really, really good, I think it is more of an 8 than a 9, honestly, if I'm being honest.
I mean, hold on. Because I'm just gonna. I'm wondering where it's sitting at, like for instance, on Steam database right now. Like everybody's like universal.
Yeah, the people who have played it and you actually had to have bought it to score it.
Okay, we won't. We won't. Okay, moving
What
on.
is it?
I think people are throwing ten. It's not a 56%. That's a crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. But it's people want different things from like people didn't want I don't think people wanted that type of space,
I think that's a little
sci-fi.
bit witch hunting. Personally, I think
Yeah.
I should have probably looked at Sin when it began to dip and rise and stuff like that. Because I was like, it's probably
Yeah.
it's skating around probably 80, 70s.
Might have had a rough launch on Steam too as well. I don't know. In terms of, tech, it might have been busted. I'm not too sure. Let's do The Witcher 3 before we bounce out of this.
Okay,
So, your gut check for The Witcher 3.
10,
Your gameplay.
8,
What would you give it story?
10.
what would you give its audio slash visual slash tech?
8.
Okay, that equals out to a 36. Divide that by 4, got a 9, solid flat 9. So that's, I mean, once I this has been kind of a bulletproof. I'm digging this a lot. Okay, so now, uh, gut check for me. I will go. Yeah, damn. Now it's, I guess, yeah, it'd be like a 9.5, but let's just go 10. We'll go 10. And then gameplay, I'll go 6.
Whew.
Story, I'll go 10. Audio, visuals, and tech, I would go.
Epic score,
Yeah.
voice acting.
But see, that's the thing that's kind of a bummer. I played it when it was totally patched. So to me, it's like a fucking 9,
I mean, to be fair though, that's where you have to rate it though. We can't rate things on its like initial launch.
unless we played it
We're
there,
we're
yeah.
talking because that's where I'll be basing all my entirely my stuff is the last time I played it
Yeah, exactly.
is that fresh thing. Because we've talked about it before, and it is like, oh, do we reference the thing? And it's just like the only way you're going to experience that again is if you disconnect from the internet, have no thing where it will download a patch, and you put the disc in. Who the hell's like the masses aren't gaming like that. I'm not gaming like that. You're not gaming like that. So that just makes no sense in covering an opinion like that. So
Totally. Unless it's the version we played. If it was
yeah,
busted when we played it,
no,
that's what
yeah,
we got to
exactly. That's what I
cover.
mean. So it's the last time that we played it.
Yeah. So that comes out to a 35 for me. Divide that by 4, you get 8.75. Yeah. I
So
mean,
literally within touching distance of a 9 out of 10.
yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's once again, I'm doing my top 50 list. Spoiler, it's fucking up there, up there, up there, but
You could have sped it
I
up with
do.
this format. You probably wouldn't have even needed to have them internal arguments for yourself. You could have just done it based on the number ratings.
But it is the thing where it's like I don't think that gameplay is good, really. It's okay, it's passable, but it's not, to me, it's
See, that's
nothing spectacular.
and that's the crazy thing. It's also what you're experiencing as the player. Because at base, if
Yep.
you're playing that game on normal, it's nothing special. You play that gameplay on Deathmarch, which is what I played from start to finish, and it truly does feel like a dance. It feels like so much more layers are going on with the game. So I'm gonna have a different experience with it.
Totally. So, well, that's I think that's gonna be our review format right there. I mean,
I'm happy with it.
I'm yeah, I'm cool with it. I is there anything you think we should maybe tweak, alter, replace, move
No,
around?
because the only thing that because when we initially were talking about in the Alpha Protocol thing, it was like a seal of approval or something. But I think that's what the gut feeling
Yeah,
establishes. That covers that basis. I think that is a very there may be a time where you could squeeze in one more that somebody could argue like oh one more category of something, but I think keeping everything bundled together in that format, I think that's fun.
totally.
I think the more that
Shit,
you
yeah.
add, it just makes it more muddier.
Yeah, and I mean, oh, damn.
What?
I just kind of thought about something like, what about something like a roller drone that technically does have a story, but it's not like at all the
So
focus of the
what are
game.
the things? Because I'm drawing blanks. Because obviously I don't have what you wrote down. What are the categories?
I have gut check, gameplay,
Got
story,
gameplay, story,
and then audio, visual slash tech.
audio.
And so it's the thing where I said, remember, we can cut story if need be, if the game doesn't have a story. But what about the games that kind of do? But I mean, I don't know. Maybe you do have to review it if it's trying to tell you a fucking story, but it barely does. It's like I don't know.
It does have
But
story
they
though
never
in
really
Roller Drome, right? You do have things that you're reading in between.
fucking barely. So I mean, yeah, I
So
guess you
that's
give it
what
a
I mean.
three, but
It has a story. It has something that it's laying out. Because even stuff.
then it kind of feels bad to say, okay, well, we can for you know, Forza Horizon, we don't have to factor in the story there, but we have to factor it in for Rollerdrome, or you get what I'm saying? Because it's about the same level of story as like a Forza game,
I would still say that Horizon has a story.
and you give it a two and
Yeah, and then like
whatever.
for instance, if you were to like tackle that with like motorsport, it wouldn't be story; it would be career progression. How good does it feel to progress through your career? It's not, you're not getting like a narrative. So maybe story could be replaced with progression.
Or yeah, yeah,
Is
career
that a
mode,
good?
something. Yeah,
Because like with Rollerdrome, okay, if you don't want to like brand it as particularly story, how good does it feel to progress through the levels? Are you
yeah,
being challenged as the player and stuff like that?
yeah, yeah. We'll figure that out, and it might just be the thing where we could just if we don't feel like it's a game that really has a story, even if it does technically have a story, but it's so in the fucking far back burner that they give you like 15 minutes of story throughout your 10-hour experience. It's like, I don't know. We should probably cut that. And
And
then
replace it
it
with
with,
progression.
or just cut it, because you could say progressions through gameplay. You'll
But if
feel all
you
that
cut
through
it,
gameplay.
that's a number that you're cutting entirely. So the
Then you
review
just
number
divide
would
by
be
three.
okay. Yeah,
So it would be you
yeah,
would
that's
only
fair.
be factor
Yeah,
yeah, you'd only be factoring in gameplay, audio visuals, tech, and then your gut score.
yeah. Well, we'll see. It's 99.9% bulletproof.
Yeah. Well, and
We
I
can
mean
talk about
99.
it when we arrive at one of them titles. I'm sure we can find something to replace story with it.
Yeah.
There's
And
one thing that it would easily slot into with
yeah,
something.
we'll figure that out. And I mean 99.9% of games have a fucking story that we play at least. So, um I mean I almost have zero interest in playing anything that doesn't have a story. Unless it's a sports game, which anywho, so that's going to be the format for now. And if we figure something out, tinker with it or whatever, we'll obviously come in here and let y'all know, and then we'll explain all of that. But I hope y'all are cool with that format. And if there's anything that y'all think, like, yeah, that's a little bit fucky, let us know before we officially lock this in. But I think that's it for the episode. You
Yep,
satisfied with that, Lone?
yep. That was a 40-minute chunker. I'm sure they'll enjoy that.
Jesus Christ. Well, this has definitely been a interesting. uh, we'll get back to our typical programming at some point. Give us a little bit of break where we're trying to figure everything out, guys. But we appreciate y'all. Um, some big reviews in the works coming soon that will be utilizing this format. So stay tuned. We hope y'all enjoy. And yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'll see you very soon. Goodbye.
See you later.